Thank you, Jonathan. Oh my God. And we are super excited because this is the fourth day of the Team Coaching Global Summit. Welcome, 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 everyone. We are super happy, super excited to have all of you with us in a topic that is very important to us, at least. Our first session for today is about to begin, and it is Inclusion and Belonging in Teams, a new team coaching approach with Paul Barbour from Northern Ireland. I'm sure I don't say the last name correctly.
Right.
So this is 𝗕𝗿𝗃𝗃 and Jonathan Raids from the Team Coaching Global Alliance hosting this session. Please feel free to say hi in the chat and where you are joining us from. We will have 45 minutes together. Please keep your microphone on mute to avoid distractions. The session is going to be recorded. If you don't want to appear on the video, please turn your camera off. And a few words about this session. During this webinar, Paul is going to introduce the Known and Voiced Diversity Matrix, a new framework created by himself and Lucy Widdowson, specifically for team coaches to use with the team for inclusion and accessibility. Paul will share examples drawn from their personal journeys with neurodiversity and disability, and will invite all of us to reconsider the meaning of true team inclusion and explore practical strategies. Having seen the matrix, he believes that it can be used for any diversity. Now, we also have two very special guests. They are the co-leaders of the ICF member resource group of persons with disabilities. And we have Dr. Feroza Mansoor from South Africa and Briony Craig from UK. And Briony?
Hi.
We are very happy to have you with us. If you have any questions, please use the chat. After introduce us to the matrix, after the practical examples, after all the conversations, Paul will close with another surprise gift for all of us. Okay. Oh, I was so invested in what we are going to do that I forgot to show the next slide. Okay, a few words about Paul. He's an executive and team coach. He's a certified business psychologist and author with over 20 years of experience leading businesses at Kerry Group. He also is a writer and speaker with strong interest in human collaboration and conflict resolution. He's also lead tutor on team coaching at Henley Business School. I know that he's also a researcher, and once you start having a conversation about anything with Paul, you cannot stop talking and reflecting and leave with more wisdom and insights. So now the stage is all yours.
Thank you very much. Briony, do you want to say a few words first of all at all? Do you want to?
Thank you, Paul, so much. I truly appreciate it. I'd just like to extend a really, really warm thanks to Katerina, to you, Paul, and to you, Jonathan, and for absolutely everyone being here today. It's so wonderful to see that so many people have registered from all around the world. I personally genuinely believe that this is what we need in the world right now. So I really hope that you find today to be helpful and to be a way forward that perhaps we can consider. So the time seems exactly right for this event today. Thank you.
Thank you, Briony. Thank you, Briony. And for us, at any point at all you want to come in, please do as well, okay? So at any point at all, please just come in. Okay, got it.
Continue. Thank you, Paul.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so I'm just going to share my slides here, if I can bring them up here. It'll take a few seconds for them. Just let me know they're on screen now, yeah? Okay. Okay. I'm here today on my own, but I feel my colleague Lucy's here in spirit. Today, Lucy actually is tutoring in Henley Business School, and we tutor at different times, and we tutor together as well. But what do we do together? And I guess we team coach together globally. Next week, I'm working with a team in Japan using interpreters. And if I speak too fast today, please tell me to slow down. I can get very, very excited. Tutor on team coaching at Henley Business School. We have our own program as well. Co-author books on team coaching. And most importantly, I'd say we're friends, we're colleagues. We know each other's families through this process. We become friends, and our families have become friends. And Lucy and I, when writing books, we find it the most difficult thing in the world. Really, really difficult. And we keep on saying that the essence of a team is that we can do more together than apart, and that we could create these books together that we could never do apart, and that's why we need each other. And in each of these areas I've just talked about, we pay attention to who we are as individuals and who we are as a team together. And we've had a lot of conversation about areas such as neurodiversity and disability. And that's a very personal thing for both of us. And I guess I'll say a little bit about more of that in a minute. I've written at the bottom there, basically, I'm from N Ireland. And even thinking about making people feel included. When I work locally, where I work, I live in Northern Ireland or the north of Ireland, and I use both of those terms. I would say, Northern Ireland, the north of Ireland, and I always say, or whatever you want to call it, because we have two communities. We had 30 years of very difficult conflict, and both communities call this place where I call home different places. So even in our language, we have to be very, very aware not to exclude people in the words that we use, and it can happen so easily. So even the name of where I live carries with it all sorts of weight when you use that actual name. What I'd like to do is what we've done when we were writing the book. We went from the first edition to the second edition, and there are many changes: team of teams, group dynamics, leaders, team coach, supervision, business development. And if anybody here on the call has written before or researched before, you do get topics sometimes that you just feel more impassioned about. I don't know whether that's right or not, but you get things that you get really impassioned about and you can't stop reading about it, and you just dig deeper and deeper and deeper. And for me, the differences, one of them is, this is the difference, that the thickness, the book just grew dramatically from one to the other. And it's trying to decide what to put in that's going to add the most value to people was one of the things we had to do. And rethinking diversity and inclusion from a team coach and a team member or a team point of view was one of the areas that got Lucy and I very, very engaged and really thinking quite deeply. What does this mean? At the same time we were doing our work, we were reading about it, and we were just bouncing about different ideas. And so the idea I'm presenting today comes from our work, comes from researching, and comes from the writing process. And what happened myself in particular, that during the book writing process, in between the first and second edition, we had a training day one day at Henley Business School, and it was training about neurodiversity. And the trainer said, this day might change your life, just not in what you learn, but it may impact you. You may become aware of things you maybe weren't aware of beforehand. And that day, the trainer said at breakfast, at the start of the day, I want you to be intentional at lunchtime today. We've got an hour break. Be intentional. How can you use that hour in a different way than normal? So I contacted my daughter, who's 22, in the house. And I said, do you want to go for lunch at 1 o'clock today? And she said, that'll be wonderful, because she was off college. So that was fine. So all morning, the trainer was presenting, talking about neurodiversity, and she kept on talking about her own journey with ADHD. And everything she said, I went, oh, wow, I do that. Oh, wow, I do that. I do that. And all of a sudden, something just dropped for me. And then I went for lunch with my daughter, and my daughter said, what are you doing this morning? I said, I'm on this training day. It's about neurodiversity. The trainer's been talking about ADHD, and she started smiling. I said, what are you smiling about? She said, oh yeah, we've known for years. I said, what do you mean we've known for years? I said, our whole family, we've always thought that about yourself, that's true for you. And I said, you never mentioned it. We just didn't bring it up. And from that moment onwards, I've been researching it, reading about it, thinking about it, but it has transformed how I work and how my mind works and how I play to my strengths rather than beating myself up. But I've never had an official diagnosis, and I'm not even sure if I want to get an official diagnosis. And that's something we'll discuss. So that's happened in the first edition and the second edition, and it made writing the second edition a different journey for me than the first edition. The first edition was so stressful, even between Lucy and I, that not a tension, but there was things there that, in terms of how my brain worked, that were definitely causing tension. And by the time I got to share, here's what I think was going on, everything just changed and it just became much easier to work together, which has just been a real blessing, So what is the model? I'm just checking the chat here as well. And I guess any questions? I love the fact there's people from all over the world. Wow. And some people I know there as well. So really good to see everybody. So thank you so much for coming along to explore this topic. So what is the model? We call it the known and voice diversity matrix. And what we were finding in our work was that there's times where there's just so many things going on with individuals. And only yesterday I was coaching 4 different people yesterday as part of a team that I'm working with. And 2 of those people shared things in those one-to-one coaching sessions that I actually left the room quite shaken by in terms of the depth of what they were sharing. And I asked them, who knows this outside what you just shared? Who knows this? And said, and one of them said, nobody knows this. You're the only person that knows this outside. So they hadn't told anybody in their team about some big life events going on. And that was to do with illness, family illness of 3 people who were very ill in their family. So that, and it was impacting their work. And another person then shared that they had stuff going on in their life to do with separation from a partner, and that only one person in the business knew about it. And this was like dramatic stuff that they were going through as well. And I'm just always struck by the things that are going on in people's lives that they might share or might not share. And just, I think knowing that can make us all much more gracious. So what are these 4 boxes we have on the grid? And I'm going to speak here from the point of view of ADHD and disability. And that's about a disability that Lucy has shared about in the book openly as well. And this could be used for so many different areas. Bereavement, different, any area at all, nearly. This could be used for. But I'm going to speak just from a personal experience point of view. So on the bottom left-hand side, you've got the unknown and unvoiced. So I didn't know what I didn't know. I've always struggled to work, and I spent 20 years in corporate life. And what I realized in the last couple of years, I used to build structures around me that helped me do my best work. And people thought I was just good at building structures, but I was actually building structures to help me do my very best work, is what I was doing. And for things that I just could not get to or found difficult to do. And this unknown and unvoiced, the fact that something was different about how I worked, it impacted my co-team coaching. It impacted how I prepare, how I followed up, and even the team coaching itself. And when I'm team coaching, I am very, very spontaneous. I love when there's no plan. I just love when there's no plan. And I work with other team coaches who need more structure. But the less structure there is, the more I thrive. And I've had to learn basically that with my co-team coaches that we've had to compromise in that, and I've had to give structure at times to help settle anxieties. And then when we get into the room, we just working closely together. But once I had this moment of becoming more aware, it just really, really helped in terms of the conversation. Really, really helped in the conversation. The next box, unknown and voiced. So that's since becoming aware that while not diagnosed, and that's why we call it unknown, while becoming more curious about ADHD, and it's definitely just transformed my team coaching experience. And that means what I do with my team coach partners is that I share, here's how I think my brain is working. Here's what I think is happening. Here's how I do my best work. Here's how you get the best out of me. So one example of this, and Katerina will know this, if somebody asks me to do something, I'll procrastinate over it forever and forever and forever, and I will think about it non-stop. But if a colleague says to me, Paul, can we have a call for an hour and just work through those 2 or 3 big items? And what Lucy and I would do, we would have a call together on Zoom. Lucy would sit in the background and do her own work. I would do my work, cameras turned off, and my productivity goes through the roof. Just goes through the roof. And it's just little simple things, and I can see with different colleagues who can work with that a lot better. It increases my productivity and how we work together. And you've got the known and voiced, and that's I known for me is like it's diagnosed, you know about it, and you voice it and you share it. And I'm still reviewing the merits of whether to get an official diagnosis. I don't know. I'm still thinking about that. But Lucy, a very good example. Lucy has loss of hearing in one ear. And sometimes Lucy shares about her hearing disability. Sometimes. And it's all about how comfortable she feels, how safe she feels of whether or not she shares that. And we've had lots of discussions about what are the conditions in which you share and what are the conditions in which you don't share. And it's really interesting, and it changes all the time. It changes all the time. It's just how she feels in the moment of whether she wants to share or not about. And it actually impacts her work dramatically. If you're in a room, team coaching, what side Lucy sits at, where she sits in the chairs, it depends on whether she can hear or not. So it has a big, big impact. And then the known and unvoiced. So it's basically since voicing my own experiences, I've met team coaches who have a diagnosis and they choose not to share. So that's like Lucy sometimes on some occasions does not share about her hearing disability. She'll just decide, I'm not going to share it today. And it's not my place to share that. It's not my place to do that. It's her own choice. So really all this matrix from a team coach perspective, it's just helping team coaches to get to know themselves better, to be more curious about themselves, to be more curious about how they can do their best work, and just have a better dialogue with each other. And as I say, I've used ADHD and disability, but recently I've talked to somebody about bereavement in this here. I've talked to somebody about, even just about language. There's so many aspects that you could use this, but just to really open up a dialogue. If Briony or Feroza, if you want to make any comment, any point, please do, and please do just turn on your sound, and please just say anything you want at any point. You're very, very welcome. Okay, so Feroza, yeah.
Thank you for that, Paul. And I'm going to speak up because I struggle with my voice, and I have this disability that I can't hide. And the strangest thing is that it's not classified as a disability. So I've just got to keep going as if nothing's wrong with me. And one has to have a lot of courage to just show up authentically with your imperfection. I'm a high achiever. I've been a perfectionist my whole life. I'm a medical doctor. I'm a high performer. And then my voice goes in 2020 after COVID and stress. And it's taken me on this spiritual journey of just learning to accept my disability as part of who I am. So my perfection is my imperfection. So it's taught me a lot about self-love, self-acceptance, and now trying to show up in the world with this new form of me. I hid for 2 years because how does one show up when you can't even speak? I work as a one-on-one coach. I work as a facilitator, but I've been now volunteering in the International Coaching Federation, and it's really pushed me through the barrier. So here I am in my completely raw form, and I know my disability, and I'm at a stage where I'm learning to ask for what I need. So that's quite a difficult thing to do. So I think I'm in that quadrant of know and voicing what I need. I'm still learning. And one of it I'm realizing is that because of my voice, I don't often pick up my hand first. If my voice was normal, I'd be the first one to talk. And now I've got to find the courage to just say, can I have a moment to speak? And also to just tell people that, I need the cameras on. I can't just do voice alone. I need the cues that are visual in order to hear people better so that I can understand. So I love this matrix. I think it's really useful for us to become conscious about ourselves as coaches, as individuals within teams, and also to start to be aware. What you were saying just now, Paul, was about there's so much that we don't know. We see the mask. We don't know the story behind the mask. And I find that with my voice, God has forced me to be like, you just got to be real. You've just got to be out there with your vulnerability. And it's okay. The world will still accept you and create a space for you. So thank you, Paul, and thank you, Katerina, for this opportunity to have a voice, even though I don't have a voice. And wonderful working with my co-lead, Briony, with the PWD MRG. I never would have thought I'd be able to still be a leader, even though I can't speak, but here I am. So thank you. God bless. I'm going to give space for Briony.
Thank you, Feroza.
Oh, thank you, Feroza. That's wonderful to hear. Thank you, Paul. Paul, first of all, I'd like to thank you for your openness and your kind of curiosity here. So sharing about yourself and this curiosity about others that you've shown us. And for me, what comes through is your real passion here for this work and this dedication you've got to it. I believe, as I've been listening today, and as you kindly shared it with me in advance of today, there's 3 things that kind of come to the top of my mind that as possibilities, main possibilities, I should say. So I feel like maybe the first one is that this can offer both a way for us to look at ourselves and see how we can best be as coaches, as people, as we go about our lives in the world, Also, as part of that, it can be about how we bring out the best in people. That could be one-to-one coaching, group coaching, but certainly team coaching. And then the second thing that really stands out to me, I'd like to give it a name. So it's collaboration. I'd like to say that I feel like this offers us what I'll call a launch pad for collaboration and improving ways that we can all work together with one another. And then the third one is what I'd like to call a thinking tool. So I believe we can use this, as I said in my first point, both to look at ourselves and reflect there, but also when we're working with others. And that would certainly be the case in team coaching, group coaching, and I would also say one-to-one coaching. But thank you again, Paul. I really value this, the time and the dedication that you've spent on it. It really shines through.
Thank you very much, Briony, and Feroza, thank you for we absolutely loved hearing your voice, okay, and it's just a real blessing for everybody. So thank you so much. And it's also a really good demonstration of this idea of known and unvoiced and known and voiced, and the fact that we're always probably moving around this here is not one thing. And I have a wonderful colleague, Alex, and we had a conference a few years ago, and she had these bags at the conference she was giving out free, and it said that celebrating we are all perfectly imperfect. I love that. We're all perfectly imperfect. I absolutely love that. So believe it with my heart. And then I'm just going to share here, Brony, thank you as well for your share. And Brony, your point there about this for me definitely is about just getting people to think and to talk, and getting team coaches to think and to talk. But also, I just want to mention teams as well, getting a team to think and to talk as well. And there's a few examples of the unknown and unvoiced. You know, a team member doesn't know what they don't know. However, their behaviors may impact how they turn up on the team. And I have an example of this whereby recently working with a team with Lucy, and a team member was getting a hard time from other people because they never turn up for any of the social type events, even though they were in in a senior member of this team. But that team member had shared with me in our one-to-one diagnostic or discovery interviews that their son was on the autism spectrum, and that they suspected the same for themselves but did not know. But they believed that's why they didn't like this social type interaction. But they didn't want that shared with anybody. Okay, yet they were getting a difficult time within their team for not being as social as what the expectation would be for a senior leader. I just thought that really, really interesting. So, unknown, on voice, and they shared it openly. Unknown on voice, a team member may be curious about an aspect of their diversity, and share their inclusion needs, and that's a bit like me talking about possible, ADHD. A team member may be curious, and what happened in a couple of years ago, I was talking, doing one-to-one discovery interviews, and 3 people out of 6 started talking about potential neurodiversity things going on in their lives based on children that they had who were diagnosed. And I have a very close friend who's an educational psychologist, and he works full time in this area. And he would tell me he often works with children, and he would look at the parent, one of the parents, and go, but he can't say he's not there to diagnose the parent. And there can be a link that way. So a team member may be curious, and may share. And in that team, 3 out of 6 people, I asked, what do you need to feel included when we do the team coaching work together? And all 3 then actually shared during their check-in about the conversation we've been having, and it led to a fascinating conversation about inclusion within the team. So just talking about this in the one-to-one discovery led to a lovely conversation within the team, and they're talking about their kids and talking about and how they can work better with each other. And then you get known and voice. A team member may be aware, and e.g. they may actually have an official diagnosis of something, and they may share that openly and say, this is what it means for my inclusion needs. But interestingly, I had a coachee a few years ago now, post-COVID, who got a diagnosis on the autistic spectrum, got a diagnosis for that, and basically they shared that with their team. I wasn't working with the team. This is just one-to-one coaching. And they shared it with their team, and they said it was transformational for the first year. And then very sadly, things changed, and it stopped being transformational, and people started actually, and they got to the point where they had wished they were the last box, known and unvoiced. So a team member may be aware, e.g. have an official diagnosis of something or be aware of something, however choose not to share their inclusion needs. They were sorry they'd ever shared it because it led to different difficulties within the team of people saying you're using that as an excuse for things that you're doing. And they really, really struggle with it, really struggle with it. So interesting that's an example whereby somebody shared, got to know something. They went through they probably went through all 4 boxes in a very short period of time. What I'd like to do, and then we'll open up for Q&A. I just want to share a few, scenarios. So one scenario being, what happens if a team coach recognizes behaviors that may be negatively impacting a team member's contribution. So you're doing your discovery interviews with the team members before you do the actual team coaching work proper, and you recognize there's things that you might think as a team coach that there's stuff going on there that could be something to do with any area at all, disability, neurodiverse, anything at all, could be anything. What I would say, and this is not mightn't be the only answer, but while the work may, while this work may arise curiosity, it is not our job to diagnose. And I've had to really work hard at that. I find myself in various things, and I would love to say to the person, "Do you ever wonder?" And for me, just sharing like this model can help people wonder themselves. But I'm just very careful to be not going around and diagnosing people, because that's not my expertise to do that. Another scenario on unknown voice, a team member may share their curiosity with a team coach or a team about a diversity area or a potential inclusion need. And again, what do you do in that scenario? And potential response, while a team coach may support exploration and what is needed to maximize inclusion, the team coach must always let the team member decide what they want to share. And it's back to this team. I always say, but it's back to, if something's shared with me in confidence, I'm always saying, what do you feel comfortable sharing with the team, if anything at all? And let the team member decide that. Again, it's not our role. Even an interesting thing in that is that I've known times whereby the team knowing that information would be transformational, but it's if the member doesn't want to share it, you can't not force that. No one on voice, a team member openly shares with the team, and/or the coach or the team their diversity and inclusion needs. And if that happens and the team member knows something and they're voicing it, the potential response, the team coach just creates a safe environment as possible for inclusion to feel for everybody. And they help people just to explore what does this mean? What does this mean? And often I find when one person does share something like this, it opens up a Pandora's box of other people sharing as well. It's just creating that space where people can come along and engage safely. And then no one on voice, a team member may be aware, may have a diagnosis for something or be aware of something within themselves and not want to share this with the team coach and the team or may, share with one, not the other. And it really, for this particular, the team coach must retain confidentiality if it is shared with the team coach, and while at the same time creating as inclusive an environment as possible. So I've had examples where things have been shared with me just by being curious in the discovery. And just by knowing it, even though I know it doesn't want to be shared, I work extra hard to make sure I be as inclusive as possible in terms of how I create. And I asked the person, I appreciate you don't want to share that, but what would making this space more inclusive look like? What can I do to help this work be as inclusive as possible? And that works. And that works. And I think I've been reflecting on this a lot about, what is the so what? And I'll share these last 2 slides and then we'll go into some questions. I've been asking the question, so what does this all mean? What does this all mean, having these reflections and thinking about these things? And I think it's clear that we are never going to know all the diversity and inclusion needs. There can be visible diversity and invisible diversity, as Feroza just shared, and we're never going to know what all the needs are. And our role as team coaches, I believe, is to create and Lucy as well, create as an inclusive environment as possible. And there's a part of me nearly apologizes now to people who say, listen, we're going to try and create as inclusive environment as possible, but knowing how human beings are and all the things that go on in people's lives, that is not always possible. But we're going to do our absolute best and asking the team, what do you need? But the team mightn't even be aware of what they need, or team members mightn't even be aware of what they need. So it's nearly not being apologetic, but nearly being open that we're doing our best here. We're doing our best. And if we don't know, if people don't share things, it's very hard to adapt for that sometimes. Team coach curiosity about their own diversity and inclusion needs, and also team coach education about diversity and inclusion are both important. And for example, neurodiversity, instead of going and pursuing a diagnosis, I'm doing a course in neurodiversity later on this year to learn more about all neurodiversity areas. And then I say contract, and Catherine, you mentioned at the very start, contract. about what inclusion means for each individual and for the team collectively. So keep going back to that thing about contracting all the time, and even stopping in the work and just letting people reflecting, how inclusive right now, asking people to take out a post-it note and just to reflect for a couple of minutes. How inclusive are we being of each other right now? What else could we change? Then let each person share simple things like that. And in that part, I sort of mentioned at the start, it's not about perfection, but intentions. Being intentional about this here. And sometimes progressing might result in a contracted or agreed level of exclusion. So it's nearly saying, I appreciate that not everybody's going to feel included right now, but we have to rush through this next bit because of X reasons. And we all agree with that. Okay. And everybody goes, yeah, we're okay. Let's move on. Even though, so it's acknowledging that sometimes we can be a bit exclusionary in how we have to work for the purpose of the team. And my last slide, one-to-one discovery interviews for me as part of a team coaching journey are absolutely priceless. And they just open up a whole different, and another example of this was Lucy had a person number a few years ago now, senior team, who basically got very emotional during the one-to-one discovery interview. And Lucy asked the question what was happening and everything else. And they assured that they did not want to do the team coaching work because they had a previous bad team coaching experience that they were traumatized by. And it wasn't team coaching they had before, it was some sort of team building event where people had to lay hands on each other and all this different stuff that they felt so uncomfortable with. And they basically said, I'm just scared of this work. I'm just scared of this work. And just by having the conversation, Lucy asked, what do you need? And explain more about the work. And they came to the work and they were wonderful throughout all of the work. They're wonderful. But if they hadn't done the one-to-one discovery work, I think they would have phoned in sick. I don't think they would have turned up. I don't think they would have turned up. And my favorite question, which we put in the book, and we didn't have this question 3 or 4 years ago, and we've added it in because of the thinking around this here. We have a number of discovery questions. This is our favorite question. What do you need us to be aware of as team coaches to help you do your best work? And then we always say examples of areas that team members have shared in the past, things about illnesses, neurodiversity, grief, confidence issues, personality preferences, and relationship issues, and previous traumas associated with team development work. And we just share that list of examples and then just go quiet. And people share the most wonderful things. And then you ask, is there anything here what do the team know about what you just shared? What do the team not know? What do you want to be shared? What do you not want to be shared? How can we do our best work together? How can we best create the environment? But I found asking this question during discovery interviews is just absolutely game changing in terms of what has been happening. What has been happening. That and I'm going to take this down now then, and we can do a Q&A. That is a picture of the book, and that's a discount code. So I don't know if you can put it in the chat, Katerina. And
Yeah, we would definitely do that.
any feedback on the book, any other ideas? I cannot say there'll be a third edition because at the minute it nearly killed us right in the second edition. It was so difficult, and probably with my style of working, part of the journey with Lucy and I was that I struggle with deadlines. Unless a deadline is real, it's not real for me. And the only deadline that really mattered for me was the actual publisher one. So I had to work with Lucy to say, okay, what are your real deadlines? What are the ones that are non-negotiable for you? But in the first edition, Lucy used to make up all these deadlines like throughout the journey of the year, and they were all just sort of artificial deadlines, I called them. I said, I need to know your real points whereby beyond that point, you'll not survive if you get this too late. And that one difference helped dramatically. Not just having deadlines for the sake of it, but having really meaningful deadlines that I knew and that just helped dramatically. Whereas the first edition, we used to have all these different points. I used to miss every single one, and then I would self-loathe and feel bad about myself and feel inferior and go, oh, I'm useless, and it just totally changed things.
Thank
So
you
I'm
very
gonna
much.
say thank you and take this down here and just
Yeah. I'm trying to stay with my composure and not become very emotional because I am really touched by the response of everyone who is here in this topic and also those who have signed up for this session, and to see also your response that, yeah, this is something meaningful, this is something important. Here is a not so fun fact that the five of us who are here with you today, we have a diversity. All of us have a diversity, a disability, all of us. And there is those who have already attended the other sessions, you will see the similarities. For example, the reference to contracting, the question of vulnerabilities is so powerful. It starts with us. The moment we open up, we allow the space for others to feel comfortable, not be perfect. And it's not about that, as Paul said, it's about accommodation. I would like to share a personal story. I am in a very ableist culture. I have several disabilities. Some are some rare diseases, and everything is invisible. So being in a very ableist culture, it still is very painful. It's not just frustrating; it's painful. When I couldn't voice also because it's not the norm. It's not the norm. Even to ask that. When I first went for ICF in the United States, they asked me, they just made this question, what do you need? And for Greeks to say our needs, to ask for accommodations, it's a nuance. We bother others. We shouldn't do that. And it was so authentic, the question, what do you need, that it became something that can be normalized. I can voice my needs. I can voice, say, this is my limitations and this is like what I will need. And it was a huge moment for me. So when I started doing that, for me here, I faced discrimination and exclusion. I'm still facing that. But that gives me the opportunity to apply something else that we kept saying in this summit, in the other session, the importance of the coach to have the courage. Because I keep applying that when I am the coach and I create the space and I'm responsible and I ask the others, hey, what do you need? And it depends on the culture. Some people will be more hesitant because, oh, we don't want to bother you. And it's going to be, but it's like, yeah, no, like, this is what I need. This is what you need to know also about me. Let me know what you need. And it's make a huge difference. I cannot tell you how much difference it makes, not only in the sense of the presence of everyone there and the contribution, but this is an impact that is going to stay with everyone beyond the sessions that we are having. So I'm really grateful for Paul to creating this matrix. I'm really grateful for Feroza and Briony to be with us. I'm really grateful to Jonathan, who is also here and supporting that. And I'm super happy to see all of you be here and be so interesting and understand the importance of that. I have more notes, but I would like also to hear from Jonathan.
Well, it's a humbling moment to actually be included and offered an opportunity to say something at a time like this. I'm fairly significantly ADHD. I never met a deadline I didn't ignore or overlook. So, Paul, I feel you on that particular topic. For me, the big shift that is a work in progress is shifting from the mindset that, hey, this is a defect. This is something wrong with you. It's not that. It's just an attribute. It's just a thing. And in some ways, the opportunity to acknowledge, starting in yourself, you know what, hey, I'm a little different. That mindset shift of learning to be okay with that. I don't think we do each other much service in that regard. We don't make it okay to say, I'm not put together the way everybody else is. And that's one of the things I would call out to coaches in particular, that we can be a part of that change. You know, Katerina has heard me say this for 5 years. I believe the world needs what coaches do. And this is a prime example of that. We have the opportunity to make it okay to not fit the norm, not fit the mold, to be completely comfortable in your own skin and say, you know what, I'm comfortable in my skin. I think it's great that you're comfortable in your skin. Lots of good things flow from that. It's a wonderful starting point. So thanks for the opportunity to be included.
I cannot stress enough the importance of what you said right now, Jonathan. And I'm going back again to connect it with one thing that we kept saying also in the summit, and it was like keep ourselves educated. Keep ourselves aware about what's going on in the world, but also educated. And I had examples because, yeah, we are focusing on disabilities now, but we have neurodiversity. But I have examples of actually coaches who reacted, not responded, to having someone who was neurodivergent. Like it was like, oh, it's not a freak. Like, oh, I didn't know that about you. Or who insisted to using binary language when someone specifically said, hey, I'm not non-binary, please use that inclusive and non-binary, address me with these pronouns. And no, because it was not comfortable for them. They didn't want to do this acknowledgement. Maybe there was a lack of education, of awareness, I don't know. But it's like, yeah, it goes beyond these disabilities. It's about what is at the core of the other person, what is really meaningful and important, and respect that. Sorry for taking more time.
Okay. And some lovely thing, and thank you, Jonathan, thank you, Katerina. There's some lovely things being shared in the chat as well, which I know you can all read as well, hopefully. And even that in the chat you can all read, that's not even true either. And I was working at Henley one day, and we had, I can't remember what it was, the name, but one of the delegates shared that whenever they see words, they see numbers. And I asked, well, what do you need to help with that and support that? And said, just when you put up a slide, basically, can you please just keep verbalizing it? And that's really important for me. We've got a question. Исел, is it? Исел?
Also, there is a comment that the discount code is not valid, is not working.
Yeah, I'm going to look into that. So, and I got anybody to send me their email address. I can follow it up with you directly. And I can also follow up with you, Katerina, as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. What I'm inspired by with this conversation is that I noticed for myself, I think I related to a lot of things that you shared, Paul, personally. And inside of myself, I built this mindset of development, self-development, personal development, and what is actually neurodiversity, or this difference that I have from this framework of personal development might appear as something to be changed and to be developed. And I see this tension for myself, like, get better, you can be like the others, but at the same time, can I embrace this? Or I think, as for me, a reminder is that I might again pinpoint when somebody shares that as something that they need to fix or change, to inquire how that makes them unique, or a possibility that it might actually be part of who they are, and not fall into that, let's change it, because it comes, I guess, with a little bit of a shame, or sometimes a lot of shame, that people might be feeling around this being different. And if I follow just the perspective of personal development, we are here to make ourselves better, I might fall into a trap. So that's a good reminder for me to be aware of how different and divergent we all are. My divergence might be completely different than your divergence, but that doesn't mean that I have to change. So thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
And Rosemary added the definition of ableism. Yeah, we should educate ourselves more. We should pay attention to the language we use. And we keep evolving. Having said that, we unfortunately reach the end of this session, but please, if you still have questions, you have more comments, you want to continue the conversation, feel free to do that on LinkedIn, and we will definitely continue there. So very grateful to have you all with us again. Thank you very much, Paul, Feroza, Briony, and Jonathan, and everyone. Looking forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye, everyone.
Please connect on LinkedIn as well and say hello. So thank you, folks. Bye-bye. Thank you.